All right, Wendell Molinito has over 18 years of experience in digital marketing and website development focused on multifamily and commercial real estate. He creates and manages marketing campaigns for a portfolio of multifamily communities and new developments. His marketing skills range from the macro level of identifying trends and new developing strategies to the micro level of programming languages and design software. All right. So in the studio today with us is Wendell Molinito. Wendell, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Patrick. It's an honor to be here, actually. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I know that you guys are growing fast and partly because of your work, I'm assuming in your role. Tell us a little bit about what you do at the REM Group and how the viewers can understand the perspective of your approach.
Absolutely. So I'm the director of marketing for the company. Um, I pretty much do everything from helping generate traffic for our properties to creating long-term strategies in order to help our communities lower their marketing expenses. We also help with the leasing experience. We also help with the resident experience. And really, in my role, it's to give guidance and just find all the potential in our on-site teams to perform on site and to well make our properties very lucrative, save money, and provide just a great experience for all of our residents as well.
Yeah, and that challenges. There's a lot of options out there, a lot of places to look. How do you think about things when you bring them into the organization? What's your thinking process?
I think when it comes to introducing new technology or any kind of program or process into our company, we really look at all facets of it. Everything from how will this impact our client's bottom line to how will it impact our residents' experience because they are the customers who live at our communities, and how does it impact our on-site teams in their day-to-day operations? Does it make it easier for them, or does it just make the process more cumbersome? Um, so there's a vast majority of variables to take into consideration. So it does take time to roll out any process or any type of technology at our sites, and I think everyone in the industry can really relate to that.
Yeah, and so one of the reasons I wanted to jump on with you here is to talk about you guys are using um, you're using artificial intelligence to help enhance the leasing experience. Tell me a little bit about how that's working and what that looks like for you guys.
Absolutely. Artificial intelligence, there's so many things about it, right? It's not just one thing. And I think that's where the misconception comes from artificial intelligence. I think everyone believes that it's what we see in the movies, right?
Right.
I mean, it's funny how we all fear that one day it's going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger coming down the road, right? Or the Matrix with artificial intelligence, but it's not. Really, today's world, artificial intelligence is in everything we do. Even from just opening up your iPhone, having your face being recognized, to Amazon recommending that new shampoo that you've been looking at for the past 2 weeks, right? It's everywhere. Um, and for our sake, I think we're starting to realize that artificial intelligence is no longer something that gives you an edge, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be that item that really is requirement. It's going to be something where you need artificial intelligence. Everything from how you analyze data, how you augment data, how you um, even help with workforce deficiencies, how you're able to provide faster, easier, and more convenient services to your customers. It's everywhere. And I think that's the real misconception with artificial intelligence is that when you're using AI, you think that it's just one thing or maybe two things, but it's unlimited. And in our company, we're using it in areas of business intelligence. So we're actually using AI to help us with analyzing data because there's so much data in multifamily. One day, I think it's going to be a very powerful tool once enough data is collected and once you have the proper machine learning to determine trends that I think our industry has never seen before. And that's going to be a very powerful tool because it really will drive the decision making. We'll find more opportunities for revenue growth. We'll find more opportunities for expense savings, and you're just going to increase the bottom line. And that's just on the financial part. I mean, just imagine the help you'll see in your maintenance teams with handling work orders, to your on-site teams being able to just escalate phone calls for leasing rather than taking every phone call that comes in. And I think that's where some of the biggest help or pain points that we've been able to cure with AI.
Yeah, tell me more about that, because you mentioned how you
Mhm.
shape up your decisions around the client. I mean, you have third party clients that
Absolutely.
expect different things with different timelines, I imagine. And you
Mhm.
mentioned the residents, like you want to provide an amazing experience for them, so it's frictionless for them to rent faster and all that stuff. But then you have your other customer you mentioned, which was your employee, the on-site teams. Tell me a little bit more about how that's shaping up for those three customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the clientele. So our clients who own these properties, um, they have specific financial goals, whether it's long-term holds or whether it's short-term sales. So using AI to help create specific types of strategies using the data that's available to us will help us either create branded marketing strategies for long-term holds, or really performance-based marketing for short-term holds. There are things that you can invest in at your property in order to lower your marketing over time, but if you're going to sell it next year, well, that wouldn't be the best strategy. And that's where AI comes into play, because it'll help us look at all the data and give us the best recommendation. I mean, there's so much predictive analysis that comes with machine learning and with AI. Even to the point, I think in the near future, it's going to be prescriptive. I don't think it's there yet, because it does require someone to teach all these machines to provide us that uh, best recommendations. But I think we're getting there. When it comes to our customers, uh, I would love to see what we see in hotels, right? I was staying at a Hyatt recently, and I did not speak to one person. I literally texted everything I ever wanted to do at that hotel. Everything from booking my appointment for dinner, to checking in, to ordering some room service. I didn't pick up the phone, and I never saw anyone. It was incredible. And it was all just from texting, right? Chatting. And I know that wasn't a real person on the other side chatting back to me or texting me back. Because you can always do it by asking them a joke, and it's going to be the same kind of robotic jokes you get, but they're funny. When it comes to our on-site teams, it's about saving them time. I think there's a lot of tedious work in our industry, and multifamily. Um, our on-site team spend a lot of time doing tedious work that are just repetitive. Well, you can fix all of that by utilizing even the simplest artificial intelligence, and then take it even one step further, right? How many phone calls do our on-site teams take on a daily basis that don't ever convert to a lease, or not even interested in getting a lease? They just want to call and ask questions. Well, AI is there to help us, in my opinion. And on top of that, it just continuously learns and makes the experience even better for the next caller and then the next caller. But what that does is it frees up time for our on-site team to really focus on providing quality over quantity. I'd rather take an on-site leasing agent on their first 10 calls than on their last 100 calls. I mean, it's just, it's about focusing our team's time effectively rather than trying to just tell them, look, every phone that rings, make sure you pick it up, take notes, and put a guest card if they're interested. I think those days should be over, and I think they will be.
Yeah, it's interesting because now, I mean, you talk about the turnover at that level of the organization, and when you're burning, they're rewarded for even leasing and the sales process, and they're taking calls that are easily answered by other things, right? You end up burning out salespeople quickly if you don't get them the right stuff when they need it, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So what are they saying? What are you hearing from your leasing teams? Because I would imagine that there's a lot of information around, like, what is this technology? Is it going to change the way I work? How am I going to be rewarded? What are you hearing?
what we're hearing from a lot of our on-site teams who are utilizing the AI, and here's the interesting part. Um, some on-site teams don't even know the AI is already turned on, right? I think some on-site teams, just like how we are as customers, we don't even realize how much AI is happening around us when we're doing our daily activities. Everything from just checking the weather to opening up your phone with your face. So I think what's happening is with our on-site teams, they're realizing time is being freed up, yet the work is still being handled. And what that allows us to do is give our on-site teams the time they need to focus on really the core of property management, which is handling the customers, handling those residents, right? And leasing to individuals who are interested and not spending a lot of time waiting through uninterested, unqualified leads or wading through reports that can be automated or um, just doing the mundane parts of the industry's traditional sense of work. And I think that's where AI has come into play is that it's not replacing, but instead subsidizing the professional in order to do their work better. And I think that's the goal for all artificial intelligence in every industry that we see, right? It's not about replacing. I mean, I read an article, I think recently when I was at a hotel in Japan, and it was funny. They tried to replace all of their employees with robots. It's a famous case, and it completely failed. Completely failed. And I think that's where we're realizing, and the industry's realizing that um, with AI, you can't replace the entire thing, but having a balance of the two can can increase your workforce efficiency exponentially, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the benefit comes from.
Right. And I think you can create an amazing experience from a culture building perspective too, because now, I mean, you now have more flexibility to give flexibility, right? Is that something you're seeing as a trend too?
Absolutely. I mean, it's about creating an experience not only for the customer but for our on-site team uh, to to love what they do. Right.
Mhm.
I think we all don't. We all want a job um, that we are passionate about. And I think that's the difference at our company is that a lot of our on-site teams are passionate about what they do. And you don't want to affect that by creating mundane reports, right? Those boring Mondays, 4 hours on a Monday creating a report, taking 85 phone calls a day, and all they wanted to call you about is, you know, if you have any availability or if you have are pet friendly, do you have a swimming pool, things that can be handled very quickly by an artificial intelligence tool, right? Instead, you want your on-site teams to focus on really the customer service and the customer experience. I feel that our on-site teams are talking to their residents in a way where they're understanding their story, um, and creating a very positive experience living at their property. I think that's where I find passion in our industry specifically. We, as property managers, especially in apartments and multifamily, we create the stage for people to live their lives in their most vulnerable times. You're most vulnerable at home, right? It's where you're able to take the suit off, loosen the tie, sit down, turn on your favorite show. That is your most vulnerable point in life, in my opinion. And we set the stage there in your apartment that you live in and the home that you're staying in. We set the stage so that you can have those experiences. The experience, for example, where um, your first child is born, to a new married couple, to roommates fighting and making up. These are all experiences. And if you have a good property management company at your community, they remove all of the burdens, right? Because what's worse than having an argument with a roommate and the hot water doesn't work either, right? What's
Right.
worse than something going on in your community? And I think that's where you still need that human presence. That's where people will always need people in our industry. And AI is there to help allow our on-site teams to provide that human connection so that they're not spending all their time on the tedious part
So
of the
tell
process.
me what the myths are, though, because
Mhm.
you mentioned you've done a lot of research and understanding before you moved forward deploying this into your portfolio. What are the myths that have been busted, I think, from now experiencing the results of this?
Absolutely. Some of the myths. I'm afraid my robot will tell my resident the wrong thing, right? That's a big myth. I mean, if you remember the story of Taybot back in the day with Microsoft, horrible experience. But look it up. It's Taybot. Microsoft created this robot, and it literally was set up to learn, and it learned wrong things. And you can't blame a robot like the way you can't blame an employee. If you teach them the wrong things, they're going to do the wrong things, right? So one of the myths that exists is that my robot will tell my residents or my customers the wrong information. Well, that's where the programming behind it is very, very critical, and it requires a team uh, and leadership to make sure that they've developed the right programming in place prior to launching. Okay, and that's where the first myth comes from, right? And if you work with specific third-party vendors out there who focus on artificial intelligence, chatbots, you know, they provide you a very streamlined process of creating a safe and effective experience using artificial intelligence at your community, which we have currently at our communities.
So let me ask you,
Mhm.
going through that, was there something that that created some pause or hesitation going into it that's different now? I mean, I would imagine some people are carrying around and they need to sell this internally, like we need to go this direction, really support our teams in this way. Was there anything that you paused on or gave hesitation to that you ended up hurdling over?
Um, I think really what has happened in the past 2 years uh, with COVID, right? What that has done is actually encourage the use of a lot of new technology, especially in the experiences with closures and mandates and um, just regulations that stopped our teams from being able to perform their traditional sense of leasing and working with walk-in tours and guided tours. It really changed that, and that's probably one of the hurdles that we had to overcome using AI. uh, and that's really where you saw the boom in technology in our industry in the past year and a
Right.
half or two, right? And when it comes to AI, overcoming the hurdles, um, yeah, I mean, some uh, we did find some challenges in the beginning, right? Again, it's all a part of programming. Who's going to program it? Who's going to give the robots all the answers? Who's going to uh, audit the robot's answers prior to turning on the robot and having the first customer talk to the robot, right? And what kind of safeguards are in place? Uh, because that robot really will start talking to customers, and if something goes wrong, uh, what are the consequences? What are the rules in place? What are the policies in place? So there's a lot of initial investment in building it out correctly. So that was a huge hurdle. But I think we overcame it because we had great customer service from our service provider that provided us this AI. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say this would have been the same maybe 10 years ago. I think 10 years ago it
Hmm.
was very raw, very ineffective, the process of setup. But in today's systems and today's technologies, it's incredible. It's incredible how much of the process has already been done for you. And here's the crazy part, it's probably done for you because of an AI. Like something already set up for you because of all the conversations they've already had with how many customers out there. So that's where we saw a huge challenge and hurdle, but we were able to solve it because of the service that was provided to us by our third party vendor.
Okay, great. And
Mhm.
so, Tom, let's talk about the stats and who is this that you're doing? Your client? Is
Yeah,
this?
absolutely.
Did you build it yourself? How did you approach this?
Yeah, we looked at a couple programs out there and we were very impressed by Lease.
Okay.
They have a artificial intelligence tool when it comes to text, phone, chat, and the robot's called Ace. She has been very good at our communities. When it comes to statistics, we have seen, I think the last report that we reviewed, we saw roughly around on 5 communities, combined total hours of chat, text, and calls by the robot was about 14 to 16 hours total per week, I believe.
Wow.
So you're looking at close to about, I mean, what is that? That's almost a full employee, right? If you think about it, it's almost 60 hours a month that you're seeing. And those are calls, chats, and texts that could have been handled by a person, but instead it was handled by ACE. So it's very impressive when we're looking at this. Um, the stats show us that there's a huge acceptance by our customer base to utilize the robot. I myself am still a person who presses zero whenever I call my credit card company or my cable company because I want to talk to a real person. And we still have those. But I believe our society has really come into um, an awareness that I can handle my inquiries with the robot. Sometimes we even prefer it because we don't have time to call during the day. I'd rather ask the robot at 10 o'clock at night while I'm watching my favorite Netflix show, hey, do you have any availability at your apartment? Do you have a swimming pool? I can just chat and text while I'm sitting on my couch and I don't have to call anyone. Not only that, but I don't have to chit chat and I don't have to waste time, right? I get to the point. So there's a huge advantage there, and we saw that with Ace, where we look at the calls. We also look at the call sentiments, what kind of words are being used, keywords. So it kind of helps us also to take a look at all of that data, right? Can you imagine if you had to have your on-site team record every single word of a conversation and then provide a report to us telling us that I think they love the swimming pool. I think it's amazing that we can do that with Ace. Ace can tell us that 20% of the callers who came in last week inquired about pet friendly. They inquired about the swimming pool. They inquired about in-home washer and dryer. Uh, and just imagine in the near future how much of that data is going to be collected, where you can specifically determine your prospects' interest in specific amenities in specific markets. I mean, that would completely help the development of new apartments, right? And no longer building apartments that don't have what the customer was looking for, or creating an apartment based on a report that you bought 5 years ago. Because that's exactly how it works in construction, right? We're looking at a report from 2015 and the apartment goes up in 2021. And you're wondering to yourself, I wonder why the amenity that we had in 2015 isn't popular today, right? And that's where I think AI can really benefit in the new development side as well.
Wow. I love the way you're thinking about this. And I liked how you said how it's really happening in the background. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have even on-site employees that don't even know it's there. That means they're re-engaging the customer, like you said, showing up in ways that we need them to for this experience you're creating on site. And then the math side of it for the client, right? The owner investor. I mean, you said 16 hours in a week, right? That's an employee. I think that the financial decision to decide, do I want to make this investment, was easier, right? For some, when you have that kind of math
Absolutely.
in place. And then I love how you're using the data to listen and understand what's next for even probably what you're putting into marketing, but bigger picture advising clients, because I'm sure you guys are doing due diligence for developers and considering projects, and having that has to make you a uniquely, advantage to provide insight into what should be built in certain markets. So I love how you're using the technology beyond just renting faster and doing the obvious.
Absolutely. I mean, and in our new development division at our company, we're working with a number of new developments in the Southern California market and nearby markets as well. Um, and we're realizing that the data that we're collecting um, from our artificial intelligence, using our business intelligence tool, um, there's a lot of data, right? And so with all that data, it's almost impossible for a human mind or even a group of humans to find all those patterns. Um, and that's where artificial intelligence will come into play, is let's grab all of this data that we have, give it to a machine and let them find the pattern. Let them find the patterns between A and B that creates a higher NOI for a new development, right? Where we can update the pro forma based on what we found from not only historical data, but current data occurring today in this specific market. And I think that's where that's the most powerful tool, in my opinion, when it comes to development, because in development, you're building the unknown
Mm.
based on historical data. So the more you can acquire and the more information you have to make the right decisions, the better outcome it's going to be financially for that build. So that's where we're seeing it. So our new development division has really stepped into I think in an advantageous position when it comes to when we're working with our new clients and giving them information on what amenities to add to your communities. Not only that, but even to the point of that's not the right flooring. Right? I mean, it's amazing when our clients are going, hey, we can't find this flooring. The supply chain is giving us issues. And here we are, we step into a meeting and we're actually, you don't have to use that flooring. Based on our data, the incoming residents in this market would rather prefer that flooring, which is available over here. So this is just one example of how we can help a lot of clients who are building new communities make the right choices, save money, increase revenue opportunities, decrease exposure for losses and even for construction delays, because of the advice that we can provide based on the data and experiences that our new development division can provide.
So,
So
Wendell,
even in that aspect, yes,
yeah,
go ahead.
you landed on Leasehock, you mentioned, and I'm sure
Mhm.
you did a lot of due diligence there. So what made you land there, I guess, and what would you say to somebody on the fence on what they're thinking about this? Maybe they don't have your background or access to somebody on the team with your background. Hopefully, a conversation like this is designed to be helpful in people that, I mean, we're starting, and just like the customers, they're starting to learn about the things that they can use to grow their business and make life easier for people on their own. And hopefully, people would tune into this and listen to your thinking process around this AI and virtual leasing and this new modern way of building and scaling multifamily portfolios. So what would you say? I'd love to learn more about your, why you landed there with Leasehawk, and then secondly, what do you say to somebody that's on the fence, because it sounds like you've picked up some value by getting started now.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, my recommendation would be number one, make sure you review a number of service providers out there. You shouldn't just look at one. You should look at a number of them. Um, this is actually our strategy whenever we look at any type of vendor, right? Whether it's landscaping, whether it's plumbing, whether it's general contractor or painting vendors, we always look at a number of them first, and then we compare all three of them. We talk to each one of them, and then we develop a comparison bid chart. And then from there, you're able to decide um, with all the information in front of you. And that's really what it is. You don't want to go with one first. You just want to get a minimum three, take a look at them, and decide from there who to beta test. And that's the next part, is piloting. That's what we've done with Leasehawk. Once we decided that they're our favorite one, they have the proper system in place, they have a great customer service relationship, uh, um, referrals, then let's start with them first. From there, take them on a pilot test. Ask them, can we pilot it? Can we see on a number of properties and see how it works? Take it slow. This is not something you want to jump into full force right away. And the reason why we say that is because um, there are so many variables at play. The setup does take an investment of time. Not only that, but you also want to customize the program, because every company has its culture. Every company has its internal processes and procedures. And what you're doing is you're adding, in my opinion, a new step in a process that you've traditionally had for a long time, right? You're kind of changing the game. And when you do that, you want to make sure that you take your time to understand and analyze all the variables that can occur. Uh, Once you get, in my opinion, to about 80, 85% of confidence, push it through and test it out. You can't never be 100%. I mean, if you're waiting there for 100%, you're going to be stagnant and you're just going to run the resources of testing and looking at a program. I think what you want to do is reach a certain confidence level, right? And once you get there, pull the trigger, go for it, test it out. But start with small. Strategically pick communities in your portfolio that are um, great examples, right, of your portfolio, really. Um, you know, which regions, right? Maybe pick one in one region or two regions. How about community size? How about financial budgets? Um, Ones with big budgets, ones with small budgets. That way you can have your own experiment of where does AI work in my portfolio? Our portfolio is a mixture of a number of properties, different areas in Southern California, different sizes, different uh, a number of associates working at each site, different clientele. So what we did is we kind of piloted it across a variety of them to kind of see, does the AI work?
So Wendell, let me ask you this: what are you excited about? You've shared a lot of great value that I think our viewers can learn and discover new ways to make life easier for clients, the residents, employees, and not just not just the experience, but the financial part of it there is significant. But tell me what you're excited about at the REM Group, where you guys are going. What's next?
Absolutely. Well, when it comes to specifically what's next in multifamily, especially with our company, um, I do lead the charge of our company when it comes to introducing new technology. And in my opinion, AI is going to be a huge part of that. It will be. And I think everyone in this industry, not only in this industry, but almost every industry knows that as well. They're going to be adopting it. Uh, and it's not going to be, again, an advantage. It's going to be a normal part of your process. This will happen. The same way today you can't imagine doing business without email, right? Is going to be the same way about imagining never being able to imagine doing business without some sort of artificial intelligence, whether it's to the bare minimum of predictive analysis to all the way to deep learning, machine learning, right? There's going to be some sense of artificial intelligence at your company. And the reason why I say that is because it's already ingrained in our normal life. So the exciting parts that I see with AI in our company in the near future is one, really handling the workforce deficiency. It is hard to hire today, Patrick. I mean, it is really tough to hire good people. Um, and what you don't want to do is overburden the good people you already have at your company. So why not introduce AI to help out the talent you currently have in your pool, right? I mean, we don't want to tell our on-site teams, look, we're looking, we're recruiting. Okay, it could be another month or two. Just go ahead and lean into it and stick it out. Why not introduce AI right away? Alleviate some of the work on your on-site team, the talented people that have been working for your company or for our company for a while now, right? Give them the breather and use artificial intelligence to help augment that workflow. Uh, Second part of that, in my opinion, when it comes to AI, is the data. Unbelievable potential in data. One day we're going to be having a call like this again, Patrick, one day, and we're going to be talking about, wow, the robot picked up a new pattern. And I feel like there's going to be conferences around this where machine learning developed new trends and pattern in multifamily and have given us actionable data to make even better decisions with these communities in not only financial sense but customer relation sense, um, exposure, um, all sorts of things. It could even get to the point of updating our laws, right? Wouldn't that be something? Lawmakers making decisions based on accurate data finally.
Right,
That
right.
would be something. So that's exactly where I think the potential that we're seeing here with artificial intelligence and machine learning, introducing it into our industry, introducing it into our processes and our procedures, um, helping our on-site teams, making the customers even happier, giving them what they need, right? And I think that's where our future is headed. And if you're not willing to see it, if you're not willing to research it and try it, I think it's going to be a tough road ahead for that individual.
Yeah, and you have a remarkable mindset around this, I have to tell you. And if anybody listening in can do anything, is just embrace that, because that's important in how you see and shape the decisions you're making on behalf of owners and investors and operators around the country. It's been refreshing speaking to you about this, Windell, and I know that now that we've spent a little bit more time together, I have some ideas about maybe some more stuff we could do together. But I love the way you think. This has been useful for our audience to learn about how they can use AI to accelerate their leasing, get more efficient, create a better experience, and even understand more of what the customer wants. I think of like the mastermind, where there's the two bright people that get together, but the third mind is formed between the two conversations. And it sounds like what you mentioned around AI, it's that third mind that gives us insight the customer isn't even willing to share sometimes. But anyway, wonderful to have you. Tell us how people can get in touch with you to learn more about what you're working on and connect with the things that you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Please feel free. You can visit our website at remgroup.com. If you'd like, you can also reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a public profile, so it's very easy. If you find me on LinkedIn and message me, it's probably the fastest way to get a hold of me. And feel free to find my name, and let's chat. Would love to kind of bounce some ideas around there with interested folks and like-minded folks who are interested in artificial intelligence. Probably one of my biggest recommendations out there. If you want to get into artificial intelligence and understand it, the first thing you have to do is just Google it. Just Google artificial intelligence and look at some of the resources out there. Just be careful though. You might get stuck, and you may start reading so much about artificial intelligence, and you just become so interested in it, because it is a fascinating topic, and I think it will be a very integral part of our industry and just our lives moving forward.
Amazing, amazing. All right, so great to have you on the show. We'll be in touch, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Patrick.
All
Have
right,
a good one. Take care.
we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.